Hey everyone, welcome to a special Legends of DC Channel 52 crossover. What could be so big that we'd have to cross over? I sat down recently for a quick interview with Mark Waid. For those of you who aren't comics fans and just fans of the TV shows, Mark Waid wrote the Flash comic for a bunch of years, and a lot of his work shows up in the TV show. Everything from the Speed Force, Savitar, who's on there recently, even when Barry Allen, in the beginning when Barry says, "My name is Barry Allen and I'm the fastest man alive," Mark Waid came up with that line, although it was originally Wally West and I'm the fastest man alive. So this man has had a great impact on not only Flash comics, but what would come later in the TV show. So sit back, relax, and listen to me talk to a comics master. And later, I talk some Marvel with him also. So go over to the Nuff Said podcast and check out our Marvel talk. Now it's really a big crossover. All right, enough of my babbling. Here's Mr. Mark Waid. First of all, thank you for joining me today. It's truly an honor. I guess I'll jump to definitely my favorite DC work you did, and maybe my all-time favorite, your time on The Flash.
Thank you.
I started reading the book when the John Wesley Shipp Flash TV show was on the air, and then right before your run, and later on I would go back to get all like the Barry back issues, but like the first time I saw Wally West's origin, the first time I saw Eobard Thawne, it was all in your stories, and it was just great.
Thank you, man. It was a joy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But just some of the things I saw, did you have? I mean, especially people who watch the TV show now would be definitely interested in this. Did you have the idea for the Speed Force right from day one?
Not from day one, but it came about maybe a year and a half into my run when I just started thinking about how interesting it would be to try to connect the different Flash's origins because they were so disparate, and all the speedsters had different origins and stuff. I thought it'd be interesting to kind of knit that together into something. And I remember asking my editor, Brian Augustin, we were on the phone, and it occurred to me, what is it like on the other speed, or on the other side of the speed of light? What is it, what is it if you were able to achieve something past the speed of light? What would it look like? What would it sound like? What kind of world would you be in? And that sort of gave birth to the Speed Force.
Oh, that's awesome. And I saw him. I mean, I think the villain who reoccurred more than any in your run is probably Abracadabra. Is he one of your favorites?
He is. There were a couple of reasons. I mean, one is that I like the fact that he was much harder to beat than, say, Mirror Master or Captain Boomerang. And also, I've had a lifelong love of magic and stage magic and sleight of hand, and so I sort of lean toward Abracadabra anyway.
Mm-hmm. Are you watching the TV show now?
Yeah, I'm having a blast. I'm watching it. Are you kidding me? It's the high point of my Tuesdays. Yeah.
Because there's so much of your stuff in there. I mean, the Speed Force, the whole line, my name is so-and-so, I'm the fastest man alive. But I heard a theory, and I so want it to be true, especially after reading your work, is if the new Wells HR, someone said he could be Abracadabra. I so hope so.
Oh, I hadn't heard that theory, but that's a pretty cool theory, actually. Yeah.
Because he's always flipping that drumstick. Someone says, oh, like a magic wand.
Oh, like a magic wand. That's pretty good. I hadn't thought about that. That's good.
And you mentioned your editor before. Did your editor get nervous when you pitched him the idea for the return of quote-unquote Barry Allen story?
No, not at all. I mean, the way my relationship with the editor, Brian Augustin, worked is that, first off, we were very good friends, very good friends. And we always looked at it like we were just having fun plotting the book. I would have the nugget of an idea, and I'd call him up on the phone, and we would just start throwing ideas back and forth. And before you know it, we had a workable plot. With the return of Barry Allen, it actually started when I was writing Justice League Quarterly stories for Brian Augustin. Before I came on to Flash, we were talking about doing, say, a story in which someone came back from the past and they pretended to be Barry Allen, or they pretended to be Barry Allen's kids, or something like that. And then, of course, the reveal. No, I know what it was. They would come back and pretend to be Barry, and then the reveal was going to be was one of Barry's children,
Mm-hmm.
and that was, and it wasn't a villainous thing. It was just going to be somebody who wanted to run in the shoes of the Flash. And that was just a one-off story, and we thought about it. We kind of worked it out, but we sort of tabled it once I got onto Flash as a regular book, and I'm glad we did, because that way we were able to use the basic idea for the return of Barry Allen.
Yeah, it's like I said, when I started reading, Wally was the Flash, so I always have like a special place for Wally, but I always liked him because he was like the everyman, could be your best friend or whoever. Yeah, he wasn't like a scientific genius like Barry Allen. But in my mind, you probably agreed. In my mind, the end of that story, that's what started Wally on like a whole new level. He wasn't like the new Flash; he was like the Flash.
Yeah, I think that was the point at which people stopped looking at him as a replacement and really got that this guy was worthy of the mantle.
And also, dealing with the TV show right now, you're the one who also came up with the idea for Savitar.
Oh yeah, that was great. That's great to see on my TV screen. That's pretty neat.
He looks slightly different.
He does. He looks, but I understand that you need to differentiate him from some of the other speedsters, and B, it is a pretty cool design. It's not the Savitar design, but again, when you go from one medium to another, no matter what it is, you're going to have to make adaptations, and frankly, that probably looks cooler for a TV show than the design we have for Savitar.
Mm-hmm. And I just he was kind of an anti-Flash, but to me, he seemed more like an anti-Max Mercury.
Yeah.
Except,
I like the fact that he refers to himself on the TV show as the God of Speed, which is how we referred to him in the comic.
But that's another one. Max Mercury. Max Mercury is probably another one of your favorite speedsters because he showed up quite a bit.
Oh, absolutely! I loved Max Mercury. I'd always loved that character, Quicksilver, for some reason, even though the only story I'd ever read with him was a reprint in a Flash 100-page giant back in like 1973. 1972, 1973, or something like that. It's the only time I'd ever seen the character, but I just liked him. I liked the look of it. I liked the popped collar. I liked the acrobatic angle to the speed, which gave it a slightly different flavor than Flash, in that this guy was like a super speed parkour specialist, and a super acrobat. And so when Brian and I talked about bringing him back as a sort of a Zen guru to Wally, we thought, well, that's a good character, but clearly we couldn't call him Quicksilver anymore because Marvel has the trademark now for Pietro. So I don't know where the name Max Mercury came from, but when I said it out loud, it just sounded right.
And I just found it interesting that he was like, I want to say, like a Captain America on steroids, because he kept jumping through time, so he was always like a man out of time.
Right. Yeah.
And then he became the teacher for Bart Allen, Impulse.
Yeah.
So what was the idea? You wanted to kind of give Wally his own Kid Flash, but he kind of had like the 90s attitude. Yeah,
the idea was, Brian and I really liked exploring the tropes of superhero comics and of Flash in particular, but giving them their unique spin. And so we thought it'd be pretty cool to give Wally a sidekick who he hated, and the sidekick hated him, which didn't last very long in the once he got his own series. But the idea was that he was just exactly like Wally when Wally was that age, in terms of his temperament and in terms of his reactions and stuff. So Wally looks at that kid like, what a jerk. Refusing to accept the fact that no, that was pretty much what you were like. That's kind of what the people we tend to not like in life are the people that embody the qualities that we don't like about ourselves, right?
Oh, so, yeah. When people tell you, oh, your kid's gonna be just like you, and
yeah. God, I hope not. Yeah. And Wally, and Impulse had, at least at first blush, had the same sort of reaction to Wally, which was he was sort of a grown-up stick in the mud. That changed quite a bit when Impulse got his own series. It wasn't boy, it was a surprise. I mean, it really wasn't anybody's plan in the Flash office. It was just a decision handed down from the publisher. Hey, we need to fill X number of slots this year with new books, and we think Impulse is the one. And so we did Impulse, and that meant that we had to go a little bit more naive with him because that made him interesting as a character, that he was so far out of time and so far out of reality that he was like a 2-year-old in a 14-year-old's body, just trying to figure it all out. And I remember distinctly that the manager of sales, having read issue 1, stormed down the hall and yelled at Brian Augustyn and said, "This book will never get past issue 6."
Huh.
It's terrible. It'll never get past issue 6. And so Brian and I got a big laugh out of that, in the years afterwards. So, yeah.
But just to make sure I get this in, skipping way ahead, one of my other favorite stories was the Walter West storyline.
Yeah.
Like Wally's other alternate universe double. I love the costume. I wish Wally would have kept that costume. I love the silver and red, and
it's a really good costume. I wish that was the one he was wearing now in the post, rebirth DC universe. I think that's a much better look for him than the cowlless red costume that he's wearing now.
Yeah, he would be his own man. He'd have his own identity, even if he was still calling himself Flash.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite costumes. I definitely agree with you. I've thought of that too. I wish he was wearing that right now.
Please flip the cassette over to side B to continue the adventure.
Thank you.